We hope you enjoy this talk.
Can you see that okay?
Yes, it's not on full view yet, so it's just on the web, the PowerPoint normal view.
There we go. Hello everyone, I'm really excited to talk to you today about improving your well-being with positive psychology and coaching. Who am I? My name's Phoebe Simmons. I'm a qualified life coach and a member of the Association of Coaches. I've got a degree in psychology and I'm a member of the British Psychological Society. At the moment, I'm a doctoral student at Oxford Brookes University, where I'm doing a doctorate in coaching and mentoring. And my research interests are positive psychology and coaching and the strengths-based approach. And my strengths are love of learning, curiosity, zest, and hope. More about the strengths later. So today, what I'm hoping you're going to get from this course, from this talk, is something that you can implement in your life to improve your well-being. So what is coaching? So in coaching, the client and the coach work together to facilitate learning and development. So the client brings what they want to work on to the session, and then the coach will help them to work on that using questioning and providing tools to aid the process. But coaches don't give advice and they don't tell you what to do. It all comes from the client. It's a really powerful tool and it's about change and action. So in this talk today, there's going to be lots of coaching questions so you can coach yourself on these areas of positive psychology. And positive psychology is the scientific study of optimal human functioning. It aims to discover and promote the factors that allow individuals and communities to thrive. This is a quote by Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology. Positive psychology as a discipline is in its infancy. It's only been around for around 20 or so years. So originally, psychology was always looking at the negative side of things. How can we make people better? Whereas this is more about optimal human functioning. How can you thrive and flourish? And it can be argued that coaching is an applied positive psychology because it uses that information, that empirical theoretical framework to better people's lives. And all the tools that I use in my coaching are based on research from positive psychology. So I'm going to talk to you about the PERMA framework. And this is the 5 core elements of psychological well-being and happiness, according to Seligman. So it's positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment or achievement. So I'm going to look at each one in turn and give you some questions and some exercises to improve that in your life. So first, to talk about positive emotions. We need to understand firstly the negativity bias that we all have, because negative emotions help us to survive. So if we see a bear and we're scared, it instantly narrows our attention and thinking down on that event so we can fight or flight. So negative emotions have enabled us to survive over the years. They're important for life or death situations. But what's the purpose of positive emotions? Well, Fredrickson has spent her whole career researching why we experience positive emotions. What do they give us and how can they help us? So positive emotions, she's found, broaden our attention. They give us wider perceptual access, wider semantic reach, and more socially inclusive and connected social perceptions. So it actually helps us to see better when we're feeling positive. We see more in our peripheral vision. It helps us think better, more creatively, more flexibly, opens our mind to different possibilities. And this then allows us to build resources for the future. These can be physical or intellectual, such as relationships or skills for the future. The best way to understand this theory is to think about children when they're playing. They're experiencing joy, and that opens their minds and makes them creative and flexible. And then they can build social relationships and they learn things for the future. children are often practicing things that they'll use later on in life in their play. And positive emotions have been linked to more confidence, more optimism, and self-efficacy. So you feel that you can do more. You feel confident about the future and you feel optimistic about the future. Good things are going to happen. These are the 10 positive emotions that Fredrickson's identified that we feel in daily life most commonly. So it's inspiration, pride, amusement, hope, joy, love, interest, serenity, gratitude, and awe. And daily experiences of these positive emotions are associated with improved life satisfaction. So, and she's recognised that there's a ratio, because obviously we do experience some negative emotions. We can't be all positive all the time. But the ratio of 3 to 1 of positivity to negativity helps a person to flourish. So positive emotions also increase our receptivity to more positive emotions. So have you ever thought about buying a car and then you see that car everywhere? Because when you're thinking about something, you notice it more. So when you're feeling positive, you'll see more positive events and they'll make you feel even more positive. So it starts off an upward spiral of positive emotion. And positivity spreads positivity. So if you're happy, you tend to make others happy around you. You smile more and people smile more back. So think of these coaching questions. I've got a pen and paper handy. You can jot down some notes here. So which of these emotions on the left have you experienced in the last 7 days? And what were you doing when you experienced that emotion? How can you get more of this activity in your life? And what's the happiest part of your daily routine? What activities can you do in the next 7 days to increase your positive emotions? I was just going to say, and somebody's written it on there, let's get some of these on the chat now. Something that you've experienced that was positive in the last 7 days. Because we can increase positive emotions. And the way we can become more adept at noticing the good things in life is a gratitude journal. So every night before bed, you write down 3 good things that have happened to you in that day. What are you thankful for? Or what's happened that's put a smile on your face? Or who has put a smile on your face? So if you use the chat function now and write down 1 thing that's put a smile on your face this morning. For me, it's being able to share this with all of you today. And the more you practice this, again, the more you will notice the great things in life. If you know that at the end of the day, or my partner supporting me through the last week, that's lovely. If you know at the end of the day that you're writing these, then you will start to notice the things because you're waiting to write them in the end of the day. Being brought a cup of tea, my boyfriend leaving food in the fridge for me after my bonkers weekend on full. Oh, that's really nice. So already we're starting the positive spiral off. So the next core element is engagement. So engagement is about feeling in flow or in the zone or one with the music. That's another thing people call them. It's about activities that absorb and inspire us to feel fully engaged in what we're doing. So have a think about an activity where you're doing it and suddenly you realise hours have passed and you didn't even realise the time. That's the sort of activity we're talking about. Something you can get totally involved in. For some people, this could be cooking, or it could be playing an instrument, or playing sport. Lots of people describe being in the zone when they're playing sport. But have a little think about what are those activities that cause you to lose track of time. And how many times have you felt in the zone in the past 7 days? And then think about how can you make more time for flow activities? Have you got a guitar that's sat in the corner of your room collecting dust that you don't play anymore? Get it out and start playing it. Or lots of people in coaching tell me, oh, I used to paint or I used to do pottery. Start doing it again, even if it's just a small amount of time. Those flow activities cause those positive emotions. Another way we can feel more in the zone is to work on our strengths. So this is how we can feel in the zone throughout any time in the day, anytime, whatever we're doing. So what we do is we use our strengths in what we're doing. So there's been 24 character strengths identified. 5 of these are your signature strengths. And signature strengths are effortless for you because they're part of who you are. They're essential to who you are. And they make you feel energized when you're working on them. And consciously applying strengths has shown to make people feel more engaged, give them an increase in life satisfaction, well-being, meaning, and performance. We'll talk more about meaning in a moment. So one thing you can try is to go on the Buyer Strength Survey, which is made, it's a positive psychology, it's based on research of positive psychology. And find out what your strengths are, your 5 signature strengths, and then start to cultivate them, start to use them. So these are the 24 character strengths. So for example, if your strength is kindness, then you can do something kind for somebody out of the blue. And random acts of kindness have been shown to improve well-being as well. Or for example, if your character strength is gratitude, you could write somebody a heartfelt letter to say how thankful you are to have them in your life. In your life. So reflect on what that character strength means to you when you know your strengths. And when do you use the strength already? And is there a time you over or underuse your strength? An example of this could be if your strength is kindness and you tend to be very kind to everybody else, and you can experience compassion fatigue where you're giving everything that you have and not filling your own cup up. Or another thing is humility, where you're so humble that it can become self-deprecating. So it's learning how to use your strength properly and not over or underusing it as well. And then use your strength daily in new ways for a week. So find 7 ways to be kind every day. And appreciate strengths in others. So getting your friends, your family, or your colleague to take the buyer survey is so much fun. You can find out each other's strengths and discuss them and connect, which can also improve your relationships. My husband's top strength is humour, which I have to say I didn't used to appreciate, but now I know that's his top strength. I can really appreciate it when he comes up with his bad dad jokes. And also in teams, if you find out what each person's strengths are, you can use those strengths to improve your whole team cohesion. So you don't need to all be working on the same things. You can all do the things that you're good at to improve your whole team. Another way to improve engagement is mindfulness. So I'm not an expert on mindfulness, but the research is just phenomenal on mindfulness. And I think we actually have a talk after on mindful yoga. So tune into that one for a little bit more about that. So mindfulness is shown to enhance attention control, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. And there's really exciting neuroscience research in this. They've shown changes in brain activity, structure, and even regional size. So parts of the brain have grown in people that meditate regularly. And it's areas associated with self and emotional regulation, body awareness, memory consolidation, and meta-awareness. So it makes you more aware of yourself, more aware of your body, and everything around you. And also higher grey matter in the lower brainstem concerned with cardiorespiratory control, the controlling your breathing and heart rate. It's amazing stuff. And it's not just long-term meditators. So just 4 sessions of meditation have been shown to improve mood, reduce fatigue and anxiety, and increase mindfulness. And another study showed 5 days, they tested the cortisol level, and their stress hormone, cortisol, actually went down and they had significantly better attention. So the research is amazing for mindfulness. And mindfulness can be practiced anytime. There's a lot of emphasis on meditation, but it doesn't have to be meditation. It's just being fully present in where you are and what you're doing. We do actually spend most of our time in the future or the past. Have you ever sat at dinner thinking about a work meeting you have tomorrow? Or perhaps you're at work thinking about the dinner when you were thinking about your work meeting. So it's all about being in the moment right now and enjoying what you're doing. So savouring is one way of practicing mindfulness. This is what I do when I'm sat at dinner with my family. Just take a moment to just look around and absorb where I am and how lovely that is. It's giving deliberate, conscious attention to the experience of pleasure. So I don't know if anyone's done this, but so in some mindfulness courses, they do it with a raisin, and you eat the raisin and you feel the taste and the texture and you smell it. You really experience the taste of it. So that's one way of doing it. You can practice that. And there's a couple of websites there, mindful.org, which is great for a beginner getting into mindfulness, and Headspace, which is also an app which lots of companies will give as part of their employee benefits as well. So the next core element is relationships. And I think relationships is where COVID has hit us all so hard, because we haven't had the time, we haven't been able to see people that we love. We haven't been able to make that time. It's just simple things like finishing a day's work and going to the pub with a friend for a drink. You haven't been able to do that. So strong networks of relationships around us make us feel happier. So it can be your family, friends, co-workers, neighbours. If you're just seeing your co-workers and neighbours, then strengthen those relationships. So some questions you can ask yourself. Who are the people who support you the most? And how do they do this? And can you do that back for them to strengthen that relationship? And how can you develop your relationship with them? The next core element is meaning. He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. Meaning is so important in our lives. It's feeling connected to something larger than yourself, or feeling what you do has value. And meaning leads to a vision, which informs your direction and creates a purpose for your life. So lots of your healthcare professionals, so I'm guessing you've got a lot of meaning in your work. So it's really connecting with that meaning. So when you're feeling stressed or down, think about what you're giving to everybody else, the meaning that you're bringing to other people. And working on goals aligned with our core life values can give us meaning. So it's important to feel the work we do is in line with our personal values. So these are just some ideas of personal values. When I do coaching with somebody on values, what we do is I give them a sheet of values, just generic values for them to look through, and they'll start to choose some words that really mean something to them, the values that resonate with them. And they do that outside of the coaching session, and then bring it in with 10 values they've chosen or added on. And then we work through what those values mean to them. And then we narrow it down to 5 core values. I think 5 core values is a great number to have. And then we talk about how they bring those values into their life. So have a think now about, what are your values? And are you living in line with your core values? And how can you bring these values into your work or personal life? So somebody I was coaching, his values were helping people, fairness, and lots of things that he couldn't bring into his working life at all. So what we did was we worked on ways he could do that in his free time. So now he volunteers for charity. He feels so much better because he's bringing his values into what he does, and it's giving him a lot more meaning in his life. So if your value is personal development, for example, you could take a course or speak to a manager at work about getting some extra training. So there's ways to bring these into your everyday life. So accomplishment. This is the last element of well-being, the 5 core elements of well-being. And accomplishment is where, as a society, we put a lot of emphasis on about achievement. And it's basically about setting and striving for meaningful goals. And this is the key word, meaningful, because lots of people will work on goals that aren't for themselves. There'll be things they've seen in the media, or what their parents want them to do, or what their friends are doing, or what they've seen other people be doing on social media. So it's about actually looking within yourself, figuring out your values, your strengths, your meaning, and then working on those goals. And working on these goals builds hope for the future. Yes, so self-concordant goals, that's what they are. Goals aligned with your values and interests. And these have shown to be more motivating and to give you greater happiness when you reach them. Have you ever worked on something really hard, got to the end, and you're not even that excited about it? Probably because it wasn't a meaningful goal for you. So this is one of my favourite quotes about goals from Zig Ziglar. You cannot make it as a wandering generality. You must become a meaningful specific. You can't hit a target you can't see. You need to have goals for the future. So you can write them down, or you can make a vision board with lots of pictures if you're creative. And then break them down and make a plan to achieve them. And the most important part of this is, of course, to take action. You can read books and listen to talks and write goals till you're blue in the face, but if you don't take action, you don't start moving forward. So when you think of a goal, also consider, how will achieving this goal enrich your life? What does this goal mean to you? And is this goal in line with your values? These are the key questions to make sure your goals are self-concordant. They are your meaningful goals. And then think, what's one step you could take today to get you closer to that goal? And this starts you off taking action. But what about when we don't hit our goals? Because things come up, we hit a bump in the road, we fail at the first attempt. That often happens. And Albert Einstein says, you never fail until you stop trying. So to keep trying, we need to build our resilience. And our resilience is the ability to bounce back after setbacks. And I put in our own time here, because it's not, you don't need to fail and instantly go on. You're allowed processing time to get, to process what's happened. But it's important to get back on the track and start again. So 3 qualities of resilient people: an acceptance of reality, acceptance of what happened, optimism for the future, expecting good things will happen in the future, and beliefs or values that bring meaning to life. Remember the quote of, he who has a why to live will can bear almost anyhow. It's all about having that meaning will keep you on track. And people who persevere in achieving long-term goals demonstrate grit. I'm going to talk to you about grit in a moment. So when we don't achieve a goal, what can you learn from that failure or that setback or challenge that you've experienced? And how will you do it differently next time? This is what I work with people in coaching. So once we set our self-concordant goals and people are working on those, we then reflect on what's gone wrong, or how can you improve for the future? How can you use your strengths to improve your abilities for the future? You can learn from every failure. So grit is a term by Duckworth, who has spent years researching this concept. And she found that self-discipline and grit are twice as important in predicting how well you do academically than IQ. So it's more important than your intelligence to persevere. And things that make you grittier are overcoming challenges, making mistakes, getting feedback, learning, reflecting on that learning, and persevering when the going gets tough. So have a think now. Where have you demonstrated grit in your life? And I would argue we are all demonstrating grit right now in the COVID situation, because everything is changing every day. We're having to adapt to things. You know, we can't see our friends, so we have Zoom meetings, for example. We can't, whatever we're doing, we're just adapting and learning from that. And you can improve grit with the growth mindset. So the growth mindset is based on Carol Dweck's research. So what she did, she got school children and she gave them these really, really complex maths tasks. And she found that some of them would persevere and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And the other ones would just give up. And what she realised is that some of the children had a belief that their abilities can be cultivated, that they can learn from challenges. So the harder the puzzle, the more they could learn from it. So they persevered and they persevered. And they find feedback constructive. They like trying new things. And when they fail, they don't mind because they can just carry on and learn from that. So it's basically that talent and intelligence is not fixed. And Matthew Syed, in his book Bounce, he proposes talent is a myth and practice really does make perfect. He looked at sporting professionals and the amount of practice they put in to get to where they are today. And he identified 10,000 hours was common between all of them. Some of the sporting professionals started when they were 2 or 3 years old. Tiger Woods was holding a golf club when he was 2. So practice is more important than intelligence. So growth mindset is really important. And Matthew Syed says, a spark ignited in a fixed mind is likely to be extinguished at the first sign of failure. So if you have a fixed mindset and you don't believe you can grow, as soon as you hit the challenge, you just go, well, probably not good at that, I'll leave it then. Whereas if you've got a growth mindset, you'll say, brilliant, I failed, I'll learn from that, and I'll do it better next time. And these ideas are backed up by neuroscience with brain plasticity, which basically is that brains keep growing throughout our lives. They keep making new connections. They can reorganize the structure. So when we learn new things, our brain will make new connections. So the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, is just totally untrue. So just to recap on the PERMA framework, we've got positive emotion, where it's all about the broaden and build theory to start the upward spiral of positivity. We've got engagement, where you have mindfulness to keep you engaged. You have your strengths, so figuring out your strengths can make you more engaged in what you're doing. And finding your inflow activities, working on those improves your engagement. And then we have positive relationships. So it's improving relationships that are important to you. And meaning, figuring out our values, our purpose, and then setting meaningful goals in accomplishment. And building our resilience, our growth mindset, and our grit. But all of this psychological well-being is underpinned by physical health. Sleep, exercise, and nutrition are so important, not just for your physical health, but also for your psychological health and your well-being. So sleep has been shown to be a strong predictor of mental well-being. It's recommended to get 7 to 9 hours sleep by the Sleep Foundation. I'm sure we all know this stuff, but it's really important for your mental well-being too. and nutrition. Studies have shown there's a relationship between healthy diet and well-being. So the better we eat, the better we feel in ourselves psychologically. And a diet high in saturated fat, refined carbs, and processed food is associated with poorer mental well-being. Not just poor physical health, but also well-being. And exercise. So physical exercise increases brain functioning. Brain matter volume, increased levels of neurotrophic factors, the growth hormone, improvement in cognitive ability to think better, and prevention of cognitive decline, like dementia. That's a massive deal for just exercising daily, which is, 10 to 30 minutes, just 10 to 30 minutes is sufficient for mood improvements. But moderate to vigorous exercise is the most beneficial for your cognitive functioning. And group exercise is better for mental health than isolated exercise. So if you can do group exercise, I know it's difficult at the moment, then that will improve your mental well-being as well. And also, of course, it releases endorphins. So what can you do right now to improve your well-being? Work on your relationships. Figure out your values and strengths. I'll put the link in a moment to that strengths test so you can all do that. It takes about 15 minutes and it will give you your 5 signature strengths, all 24 in order, so you'll be able to see all of your strengths. And we all have them all within ourselves. So we all work on all of these strengths, but 5 are just more essential to you. Practice mindfulness. You can start with the next talk in the mindful yoga. That have a little look at those websites and start getting that into your life. It's a really, really good tool. And find your flow activities and do them more often. What are those things that you used to do and you don't do anymore that bring you joy and happiness? And the more we're doing things that make us positive, the more we start an upward spiral of positive emotions. And I should have on there, start your gratitude journal as well. That's been shown to be really effective. And set meaningful goals for the future. Goals based on your values, your interests, not other people's. And take care of your physical well-being. So how do I work with my clients in coaching? So my passion in coaching is evidence-based coaching. I'm really passionate about using research and evidence and tools that are based on research in coaching to help people improve their lives and improve their well-being. I love finding out what makes somebody unique, their values, their meaning, their purpose, their strengths, and how can we use those to improve their life for the future. And we establish goals, meaningful goals, and make plans for the future. And once we have those plans in place, it's then a great reflective space for people to come back to and reflect on what worked, what didn't work. How can we change this? How can we change that? And it improves people's well-being. So some great books, if you're interested in any of the things I've talked about today. Bounce by Matthew Syed is about talent being a myth, and all about the sport professionals and how much practice they put in to get to where they are today. And that's great for the growth mindset. It puts a compelling argument forward about that. Grit by Angela Duckworth is all about sticking with it, building your resilience, all of the research that she's done to figure this out. We've just heard also The How of Happiness by Sonia. Oh yeah, that is good. Yes, I will add that one to the list. Flourish by Martin Seligman, and that talks about the PERMA framework and probably goes in a lot more detail, so you can really focus on those areas. Mindset by Carol Dweck is all about the growth mindset, details the research that she did and how you can cultivate your own growth mindset. Think Like a Monk and Ikigai. Those books are about finding your meaning and your purpose in life. Think Like a Monk talks about values and so on as well. I've just said average to A plus. So I'll just put that on the chat as well. It's another book. And Positivity by Barbara Fredrickson, which is all about that broaden and build theory. And it's got some really good information in that. It's got some stories from people that have implemented these positivity spirals in their lives. And it's phenomenal, really, really inspiring. So we'll give that one a read. So thank you so much for listening. And I'd really like to ask, what's one thing you have learned today? And what's one thing you will implement into your life? Because it's so important to take action on these concepts, not just hear them, but actually put them into action into your life. So could you write in the chat now, what's one thing you've learned and one thing you will implement in your life? And if you want to explore any of these ideas further with me in coaching, I do offer a free 30-minute discovery call so we can talk about what you want to work on and your goals for the future and your well-being. And my email is just there for you. So I get the chart. Here we go. Gratitude. Ask every day what was positive. Gratitude journal.
Would you like me to read some of these, Phoebe, for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. From Rachel Taylor, I'm going to try the happiness/grateful diary, gratitude diary. From Noriga, I have learnt the need to sit and think about my core values and be mindful of them when I am in practice, in brackets, rather than be overwhelmed by the work-life balance. It's a really good one. From James Gregory, I've learned I'm definitely guilty of having a fixed mindset sometimes. I'm keen to explore the growth mindset more. From Elke, importance of identifying core strengths and survey to help with this. And from Fan Hoffman, be happy with your own meaningful goals, not those that others expect you to want. That's a really good point, Fran. From Elke, a vision board. And from Gemma Say, an idea of flow of activities. Phoebe, you're inspiring so many people. This is brilliant.
That's amazing.
And Gemma wants to restart her gratitude diary. Go, Gemma. And Emily Burns wants to finding 5 core strengths so I can look at over/underuse and work on these. Looking forward to the quiz. From Mary, be kind to myself as well as everyone else. And from Omar, engagement. We'll try to be more mindful and engage and do things in a flow rather than pressurized by time or workload.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm really pleased everyone's taken something from this. It's just important to actually do it now. So make sure you do start these today.
I copied your email as well onto the chat. So please do contact Phoebe if you have any more questions and ideas, as she said earlier today. And I will stop talking now, Phoebe.
Yeah, and remember, I'm a research student as well. So even if you've just got some comments, ideas, thoughts, and anything I've spoken about, I'd really love to hear that. So has anyone got any questions? I'll put them on the chat.
A comment from Natalia. She said, savouring, enjoying the good times. Yeah. Well, we have a little bit of time now before the next talk. So if you do have any questions over the next 20 minutes, feel free to message Phoebe, but also I'm happy to ask her on your behalf as well. Alexa Warren said, could you give the link for that core value again, please?
Yeah, I'm just going to stop sharing and I'll get it up for you. 1 second.
Phoebe, that was an excellent talk. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
It's been really lovely having everyone participate. So at 11:30, that is the time of our next talk, and we will be doing some on stream 1 mindful yoga with Katie Fox. She is a trained yoga therapist here in Bristol and does yoga in a variety of different places here. So she virtually does it from home in her beautiful converted yoga studio. She also works in Tricca and a variety of other places, and has been doing it on our local park as well during lockdown. But she will be bringing in stream 2, you're going to have a talk on digital burnout by Romain Galderab. She is recently CCT'd as a psychiatrist and is co-chair for digital health and at the Psychiatry Royal College. So she really knows her stuff. She is also a graphic designer and works for Hyphen Labs, some at Tate Lates and Somerset House. So a talk not to miss. And in stream 3, Laura Crosby is a paediatrics trainee, and she's going to be doing an incredible talk on burnout and moral injury. It's extensive, knowledgeable, and well researched. So please do go and listen to that. I'll be putting out the links on the chat again for each of the streams. Phoebe, Omar asked, most people associate values with religion/culture. School help them with values.
So what I generally do, I have a list of ideas of values which I give to my clients, and I just need to pick the ones that mean something to them. So it doesn't need to be religious. It can be things like honesty, or personal development, or just generally happiness in your life. It depends on what's important to you, really. So I would say it's more about figuring out what are the most important things to you, if values doesn't sound right.
Good answer. Omar said thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
And although I must say, even though you may not have a religion, for example, I personally don't, and your culture, everyone will have a degree of culture from different points, even though they may not think that they do. So your upbringing will impact on your culture. Where your family and friends are will impact on your culture, and that would, in a way, help define some of your values. Would you agree, or I don't know?
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting, actually, when I go through with clients why they've chosen those values, and some of the stories that they give me to why they've chosen them. A lot of them come from their parents, things that they've experienced in their childhood, for example, like honesty and things. If their parents were particularly honest about things, and they've taken that from their parents. So yeah, definitely.
I guess on that note, my parents were Labour supporters from when I was very young, so I was a Labour supporter. But actually, I didn't know much about politics until much older in life.
We unconsciously adopt a lot of our parents' ideas and values, don't we? Which I think is why it's important as well to question what your values are and what your meaning is, to make sure that your goals are for you and not for what they're expecting of you.
So important. On the chat, I've just added the links for stream 2 and stream 3 again, and what the talks are at 11:30. So thank you